This is my review of The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 13, titled Warlords, where we got to see the return of Negan. Father Gabriel and Aaron team up with the Commonwealth to face a new community. Let's break down Season 11, Episode 13. What's going on, Walking Dead fans? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, The Viking. Make sure you give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for a brand new video every single day. Yes, it's sad that The Walking Dead main series is ending this year, but this last season for me is being written very, very well. I like the Commonwealth storyline, even though it's very modern and similar to our world in terms of politics, different classes, the structure of money. I still think it's written very well. That's why it's interesting, and that's why it's pretty exciting going into these last 10 or 11 episodes that we have for The Walking Dead. And this episode right here was very good. It featured Aaron, Gabriel. I love those two guys together. It also featured Negan, his return, and Maggie. So the episode for me was very well paced, and it just shows kind of how ruthless the Commonwealth is willing to be, especially with the kind of peacekeeper leader that they have for this new task of meeting this new community, and he's not what he seems, which we'll get into. But this review and breakdown comes from denofgeek.com. Let's get into it. Let's talk about what we liked about the episode and what we didn't like. When it comes to guest stars, someone over at The Walking Dead is a big fan of Terminator, the franchise of movies. In Season 10's bonus episode One More, the T-1000 himself, Robert Patrick, shows up. Patrick's turn as the intimidating, dangerous, psychologically damaged man known as Maze and his brother Maze was one of the highlights of the bonus episodes. It's unsurprising that Patrick, who has become a sci-fi icon, would show up and make a big impression in 25 minutes of screen time. If an idea works once, you might as well use it again. The Walking Dead goes back to the Terminator universe for their next featured guest star, with Michael Biehn playing the tutorial warlord in Warlords. Perhaps it's just me being a fan for Biehn, but it's an inspired bit of casting because of the way it plays on Biehn's legacy as an action movie hero. Even when his character Ian pulls out a gun and starts making angry demands and threatening the delegation from the Commonwealth, it's hard not to believe that somewhere in him is a good guy. He might bark loudly, but Ian is clearly a good person at his core because he has a successful community that hasn't created trouble for anyone who didn't come looking for it. His threatening wall of skulls isn't for people who crossed him, like the governor's trophy case. Ian describes the skulls as belonging to murderers, rapists, and other, wolves in sheep's clothing. Given the amount of skulls on his wall, it's not surprising that he's careful about the offers being made by the Commonwealth, because while there are some legitimate sheep making real offers, there's a wolf in the Commonwealth's midst. The Commonwealth has been established as mostly a community of nice people who are in over their head when outside of their bubble. Sure, you have wolves like Lance and sheepdogs like Mercer, but they are the exception. For the most part, Toby, who works with Aaron in community outreach, seems like a nice guy who has a little bit too much power, a little too much enthusiasm, and a little too few brains when it comes to dealing with dangerous people. After all, the Commonwealth hasn't been doing a lot of outreach to the other communities until Alexandria came along, so it'd be natural that Carlson might not be experienced at post-apocalyptic deal-making. Bringing Aaron and Gabriel along seems like a good idea, as does letting them do the talking. Then everything takes an unexpected turn. It comes out of nowhere too. the writers for this episode and the director do a great job of concealing just what Carlson's endgame is until it's time to strike. And the actor that plays the character does a great job with that physically explosive movement necessary to shift from a timid, nice guy to a bona fide CIA agent in disguise. A flashback fills in the details. Carlson works as Lance's fixer, who makes annoying people disappear as quietly as possible. When Lance cannot use overwhelming force, he depends on surgical strike skills, even as Carlson seems to be hesitant of turning back to his pre-apocalyptic ways, especially in the shadows of the Milton administration. The actor that plays the character plays his part well, playing nicely off Bean's blunt forward aggressiveness. It's a show of toughness from someone who'd rather not draw blood versus a killer trying his best to seem weak to take advantage of the other party's inevitable relaxation. The only person who might be more shocked than Ian is Aaron, and the actor that plays Aaron plays that reaction perfectly. Unlike Gabriel, who clearly got off on the wrong foot with Carlson, Aaron knows him and has been working closely with him for months. This is a complete shock to him, and it shows. Fortunately, the viewers were set up to view Carlson's mission suspiciously when Maggie and Hilltop are visited by a dying stranger on the back of a horse, clutching a map with directions to Ian's community and a map to Hilltop, given to him by someone we see much later in the episode. That is one of the issues with the episode. There are a lot of jumps and skips in time to cover for travel time. I can appreciate Jim Barnes and Eric Mountain's script for playing with non-linear form, and I can definitely appreciate the helpful time given to keep the viewer situated in the proper time frame. But it can be a lot, and some of the notifications are a little too cute. At least it's deliberate, not accidental comedy. It's a bit more convoluted that might have been possible otherwise, but I can appreciate the need to surprise the viewer with a lot of twists and turns. Some additional information is needed as to why and how Carlson morphs from the mayor of Peapan City into a stone-cold killer capable of cheerful brutality against anyone standing in his way. That's a pretty big leap for warlords to take abruptly. And it's as much about setting up Carlson and the Commonwealth as clear antagonists for the next episode as it is explaining Carlson's actions this episode. While a lot of the pieces don't fit together neatly, there are a lot of elements on display that work very well, starting with the great guest star, the way the protagonist, stakeholder groups come together by the end of the episode, all sharing the same real estate, sets up a potential banner of an action episode next week. Aaron, Maggie, Negan and the rest all do their best when facing off with an opponent of similar skill level. These characters aren't cheap anymore, no matter how many layers of wool they put on. Carlson seems like he's about to learn a very valuable lesson in minding his flock, assuming he survives the rash of the Dead Eye Stokes and company. Again, that review comes from denofgeek.com. Yes, I like this because Carlson is a character who was a CIA agent, probably a badass before the apocalypse, and now Lance uses him to cover up situations, messes, get rid of people and stuff like that. And that's cool, that's okay. But I can guarantee you, even though he was a CIA agent, he never faced somebody like Negan, like Gabriel or Aaron. And I love Gabriel and Aaron when they get together because they're just complete badasses. I was sad when Rick Grimes left. I still am. I want to see Rick come back. I think the show has done a really good job at developing the side characters, the B-list characters, the C-list characters, where now Father Gabriel and Aaron are probably A and B-list characters. They really are because the writing has been so good. And I've been rewatching season 7 and 8 of The Walking Dead. It's a better binge than a week-to-week, scenario. But a lot of the side characters I didn't care for. They weren't written that well. Angela Kine, since she came in season 9, has done beautiful work in enhancing the value in these side characters. And I appreciate that, I really, really do. And it looks like Negan was in this community as well. He found a girl. He looks like he's dating, we'll say, in the apocalypse. He's in love. So we'll have to see. Well, it looks like that in this episode. We'll have to see how it goes next week. So he's going to come help the group as well. So we also have, Maggie. So we have Negan, Gabriel, Aaron and Maggie working together to fight the Commonwealth. And this is going to be very interesting. How do the group get out of this alive? Because you got to see Gabriel and Aaron didn't like what Carlson was doing at all. You know, they tried to stop it, and Carlson was going to cover it all up. He was going to kill Aaron, but the trigger didn't pull. You know, there was no bullets in the chamber, and then Aaron was able to get away. So how does this work out? The only way for Gabriel and Aaron to make it back to the Commonwealth, and for all of their family and their friends to be safe, is if they kill Carlson and every single soldier that we get to see in this episode. And that's a big task because they have a lot of guns. So it's going to be very interesting in next week's episode to see how this goes, because if they want to get back into the Commonwealth themselves, they're going to have to cover this up as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And Lance is a very shady character. He has his hand dipped in everything, and he, you know, he's not a good person whatsoever. He's very cunning, and I would not trust him at all. And that's why Maggie doesn't want to join the Commonwealth, because, yeah, you know, Pamela Milton might be cool and all, the community might be cool and all, the safety, protection, all that kind of stuff is awesome. But there's the snake. There's that one thing that Maggie does not like, and that's Lance. And I have to agree with her. Lance is actually a great character. It's well written. It's well performed. He's just not a good person in terms of the apocalypse and if you're trying to survive and stuff like that. But the character's amazing, and it's really well written. And this episode was cool. Negan comes and saves the day with Gabriel. He sends the note to Hilltop to warn Maggie, to get them to come here and help. So that was cool. I like that. That's where Maggie comes into it then. You know, she wants to help Aaron and Gabriel. So it was cool. I like how everything's coming together in this episode, and they're all going to have to work together in next week's episode to fight the Commonwealth, because the Commonwealth are there because they think that their soldiers, their group was, you know, hijacked and killed and all their guns were taken, and they believe this community did it, when this community's like, we didn't do it whatsoever. Like, why are you here? We don't want any trouble, but if you're looking for trouble, we'll give it to you. We'll put your skull on this wall that we have here of murderers and rapists and stuff like that. And it actually looks like this community was actually good. You know, yeah, their leader was a little bit intimidating and stuff like that, but he was right to be, you know, cautious, because he's trying to keep his people safe, and these guys are working up to us with guns and stuff like that. Like, that's their kind of leverage here. Yes, they're trying to be nice, and we have to audition to join their community, but they still have guns. They're very intimidating and stuff like that. So I understand why the leader was so hesitant and so kind of on edge with Gabriel, Aaron and Carlson, because he was right to be, and it looked like he was right in the end, because Carlson turned on him, shot him, and he was actually a bad guy pretending to be a sheep. He was a wolf pretending to be a sheep. So that was cool. I did like that. So I have to see how it goes in next week's episode, guys. That's my review, thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 13. Did you like the episode? Let me know in the comment section below. I also thought it was pretty brutal where Carlson was pushing these people off the building. That was very striking and very scary, just killing them like that because he wasn't getting the information that he wanted to bring back to Lance. But guys, that's all my thoughts on the episode. I really appreciate you checking out my review. I really do. Make sure you give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, get into the comment section, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you for next week's review of episode 14, which is set to be action-packed, and I cannot wait to watch it, break it down with you guys, and enjoy The Walking Dead as a family, as we've been doing since 2010. It's crazy! Guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.